The battle that's going on is people who profit from the manipulation of others by getting you to believe something that's not the case. And that's how they make their living. And it is now a difficult time for those entities.
Let me ask you something up front. Why does this one rumor refuse to die? Every few years it comes roaring back like it never left. Beyoncé's 2011 VMA reveal, Blue Ivy's January birth, hospital security drama, that interview clip everyone slowed down frame by frame, and suddenly timelines are colliding again. The familiar theory gets dusted off. The same receipts recirculate, and the internet starts playing detective like it's day one. Here's what's real, what's rumor, and why this story keeps looping no matter how many times it gets debunked in the daylight. VMA reveal, August 28th, 2011. Blue Ivy's birth, January 7th, 2012. First, the night that locked this rumor into pop culture memory, the 2011 MTV VMAs. Beyoncé closes Love on Top, pops the blazer, cradles the bump, and the room explodes. Camera cuts to Jay and Kanye wilding out like proud uncles in the front row. It was a perfect television moment, and it stamped the timeline into people's heads forever.
The timeline of when she delivered Blue Ivy lines up almost perfect with the timeline of when Kathy White would have delivered. We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate. They shut that hospital down like a president had just been.
Announcement August 28th, 2011. Baby in early January. Those are hard dates. Nobody disputes them. Then came the other hard date, January 7th, 2012. Blue Ivy arrives. The couple issues their statement. Emotional and extremely peaceful. Delivered naturally. All love and gratitude. And the world, for a second, just smiles. That's the official record. That's on the page. And it matters because when everything gets messy later, the conversation keeps boomeranging back to those two timestamps like they're GPS pins. But the internet can't leave a moment alone, right? Give it a few weeks, and now we're talking about hallways, NICU, and a hospital that's allegedly sealed like a movie set. Parents complained they felt blocked. People felt big energy from a high-security birth. It wasn't just gossip blogs either. Local outlets covered angry parents' quotes. Then health officials stepped in to check. The conclusion? State health staff spoke with the hospital, found no violations, and said there was no ongoing investigation.
Lines up almost perfect with the timeline of when Kathy White would have delivered. We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate. They shut that hospital down like a president had just been. And parents who had just had children themselves weren't even allowed to see their own kids for 24 hours.
The hospital also said the couple did not pay $1.3 million to rent an entire floor. They used an executive suite and were billed the standard rate for that accommodation. That's the part many people never circle back to. The follow-up that cools the heat. Now, if you're thinking, okay, so why does it still feel suspicious to some folks? Here's the thing. Emotional stories beat official statements every time. Imagine being a new parent who feels shoved aside. That kind of memory will spread faster than a PDF of a press release. Some outlets amplified those accounts. Others highlighted the hospital's response and the health department's no violations finding. Both realities existed at once, but when the dust settled, the on-record outcome favored the hospital's version. That tension, human emotion versus formal receipts, is the fuel that keeps this rumor's engine warm even when the paperwork says, case closed.
Beyoncé couldn't get pregnant, not naturally. What I do know is this. Beyoncé got on that stage with that fake baby bump. It was lined up with the same timing of where Kathy White would have been in her second trimester. The timeline of when she delivered Blue Ivy.
And then there's Exhibit A in the court of public opinion, the interview clip. You know the one. Beyoncé sits down, the dress folds strangely, and the freeze frames go viral. For skeptics, it looked like a bump collapsing. For defenders, it was fabric plus camera angle plus movement. Basically, couture doing couture things. Beyoncé's publicist even called the prosthetic belly talk stupid, ridiculous, and false. That statement exists in black and white. You can look it up. But let's be honest, the clip's optical weirdness was the match. That was the moment when a curious internet became a committed forensics lab. From there, the conversation kept escalating. A name starts trending, Kathy, sometimes styled Corey, White. And suddenly, you've got a whole branch of the internet treating theory like testimony. The problem? When you go hunting for mainstream, primary source confirmation tying any of the wildest claims to verified reporting, you don't find it. You find YouTube docs, blogs, and social posts connecting dots, but not the kind of receipts that would survive a newsroom lawyer. That gap is important. It doesn't mean people stop believing. It means the burden of proof keeps getting punted to the next viral thread.
And parents who had just had children themselves weren't even allowed to see their own kids for 24 hours because of the security that was locking that whole thing down.
$1.3 million is alleged that Beyoncé and Jay-Z, the Carters, paid this hospital to have the right.
We'll come back to why that's enough for many people. Meanwhile, the music keeps feeding the myth. Beyoncé drops Cowboy Carter, and one track in particular, Daughter, turns the rumor mill into a cement mixer. Operatic vocals, blood-cold imagery, vengeance in the subtext. Fans start mapping lyrics to headlines and headlines to timelines. Music press, though, frames the song as a dramatic, operatic character piece, tapping into classical motifs and Western revenge textures. Two readings, same track. One hears a coded confession, the other hears a theatrical narrative built to wow an arena. Both can be true as experiences, only one claims to be literal. But this is where the story takes a turn.
A video of Beyoncé's high-definition interview with Australia's Sunday Night HD surfaced online. This interview would have been, on record as the most boring interview of all time had it not been for the one moment at the start of the sit-down.
At some point, the rumor stops being a playlist of moments and starts being a case about timelines. The VMA announcement in late August. Blue Ivy's January 7th birth. Online claims that the bump looked too big for the number of weeks people assumed. And then, posts that revive the hospital hallway tales as proof that something had to be hidden behind those doors. This is where the narrative tries to convert vibes into evidence. The reality is vaguer. People announce pregnancies at different times. Bodies change differently. Not all angles are friendly. And hospital security for A-list patients is always going to feel like overkill when you're the person stuck at the badge reader. The receipts we do have, official dates and official statements, haven't changed. Then Katt Williams' name gets pulled into the swirl. Clips make the rounds, captions do the heavy lifting, and suddenly the internet treats sound bites as sworn affidavits.
When Beyoncé took a seat and her bump, did something entirely different and kind of unnatural. So to explain, when she sits down, you can see her stomach deflating and folding in on itself.
Here's the honest, unspicy truth. No matter how many compilation videos you see, the specific confirmations people claim are hard to pin to a primary, verifiable source where he says the exact viral lines attributed to him. It's a classic loop. A rumor cites a clip. The clip cites the rumor, and the circle expands until it feels real because it's everywhere. That's not me policing anyone's beliefs. That's just how rumor economies scale in 2025. At the same time, another on-air moment actually did leave a paper trail. Piers Morgan's interview where a guest made serious allegations about the Carters. Lawyers got involved, and Morgan issued an on-air apology and edited those claims out, calling them totally false and without basis. That's not blog chatter. That's a mainstream platform acknowledging a legal line was crossed and correcting the record on television.
Now, was Beyoncé wearing, different sized bellies to throw off the press as to how far along she was? Had she and Jay-Z, gone the surrogate route and her, deflating baby bump proved it? Or was it something else entirely that can or can't be so easily explained?
It shows you how sharply the system reacts when allegations try to jump the fence from rumor content to broadcast. And if you think that sounds like Hollywood folklore, wait until you hear how the Cowboy Carter track became the Rosetta Stone for 1,000 TikToks. Daughter isn't subtle. On purpose. Critics called out the operatic centerpiece, the melodramatic cinematic brutality, and the way it plays like a staged confession in character. That's catnip for theory makers. They line up a lyric with an old headline, a headline with a social post, and before you know it, the comment sections are stitching timelines like a courtroom exhibit. But again, the professional coverage reads it as art, not diary. If Beyoncé wanted to write like deposition minutes, she could. She didn't. Let's stop and breathe, because the conversation always comes back to one question. What would prove anything here? People point at belly size at 4 to 5 months as if there's a standard template, but any parent will tell you, every body, every pregnancy, every presentation is wildly different. People point at hospital security, as if VIP protocols exist only to hide a scandal.
And new details this morning about the little bundle of joy born to Beyoncé and Jay-Z over the weekend. Their baby girl, Blue Ivy, was one of the hottest topics on Twitter within hours of her birth. And one of the newest members of our ABC family, she just gave her Paula Ferris.
When hospitals have an obvious incentive to keep paparazzi jackals off every floor. People point at old articles and deleted posts about $1.3 million figures. The hospital on record said, nope, not true, and the health department said no violations. That's not a vibe, that's the receipt. Now, before we wrap, there's one final detail that always gets tossed in. Okay, but what about Kathy White? Here's the careful way to say this. You can find countless videos and write-ups repeating the same chain of claims. What you won't find is a robust, mainstream investigative record establishing those claims as fact. What you will find, coverage describing how those allegations keep surfacing online, how new documentaries and posts recycle them, and how that cycle keeps the story alive even when on-record statements contradict key pieces. In other words, the rumor doesn't need new proof to survive. It just needs new attention. And attention, especially around Beyoncé, is the easiest currency to print.
When Beyoncé was pregnant with daughter Blue Ivy Carter, so many rumors began spreading that she faked her pregnancy with a fake belly and had enlisted a surrogate to carry the child. A particular video, however, went insanely viral, like literally overnight.
Also worth noting, fact checkers have swatted down several Diddy-adjacent rumor surges, dragging other celebrities into arrest claims with zero evidence, which shows how fast false narratives can spread in this environment. So where does that leave us? With two timelines that are confirmed and public, with a hospital and a health department response on the record, with a viral clip that looks weird but has an official denial from Beyoncé's team, with a big operatic song critics read as art, not confession, and with a rumor sphere that doesn't require proof, just momentum. Some people don't care about paperwork when the story feels right. Others won't touch a claim without a court docket number. Both groups will keep coexisting online, and this topic will keep coming back, because the internet loves a story that lets everyone play detective. If you made it this far, I'm curious, what makes you change your mind? New facts or new patterns? Drop your take in the comments. If you want more deep dives where we separate receipts from recycled legend with just the right amount of spice, hit like, tap subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. The drama never sleeps, and neither do the archives.